have anything to share?
Visuals?
Oh, okay. We are live. All right. Hi, Amber. Thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely love this series. So, for those of you who have not been here before, I'm Dawn Loding. I'm a real estate agent. And this year, I decided to help my clients, my agent friends, my family, everyone by creating a financial freedom series with the economy, the housing market, and everything. I wanted to take this year and bring on guest experts in their fields and really help to educate and give you all a plan to build wealth through strategy. And so today, this is our third session, Amber, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. So you can see Amber's recordings on my YouTube channel, and they're great. We started off with credit. What did we start off with? Oh, no, we started off with a plan. Like, what is your financial plan? That was a great one. And then last month we discussed a little bit about credit, and today is debt. A lot of different opinions about debt. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it help you? Does it hurt you? And a lot of that comes down to how educated you are on it and what you're using it for and what your goals are. So without further ado, my friend Amber Woodard with the Credit Couple. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Amber.
Yes, ma'am. And normally, I mean, I haven't gotten too much into credit in our other meetings. But today I kind of feel like I'm going to have to start bringing some of the credit into this because
we did budget. That's right. We did budget.
They kind of go hand in hand. So kind of the first thing I wanted to bring up is, what is debt? To put it in simple terms, it's just money that one party owes another party. And debt can come in many forms. It can be your mortgage. It can be your car note. It can be your credit card debt. It can be we'll talk about this later, and no one wants to talk about this, but your student loan debt. It can be any money that you owe someone else. And there are two types of debt. And this is going to be kind of important as we're talking through this. And this is where I'm going to start relating it to the credit. There is secured debt and unsecured debt. So when you are first starting out, or let's say you've made some mistakes in the past and you have kind of in the financial world proven to be untrustworthy, you start off with secured debt. Secured debt is going to be where you put up you can get a loan and put up your car note. I'm sure you've seen, One Main and all of these places online. And it also, even with credit cards. Credit cards, a lot of my clients have to start out with a secured credit card. And a lot of people don't know what that means. That basically means the credit card company is saying, we want to give you a chance, but we don't know if we trust you yet. So why don't you send us some money to back it up? And then if you prove yourself later, we might give that money back to you. So basically you send in $200, they give you a $200 credit card and you prove your worthiness. Unsecured debt is the goal. You don't want to have to put up anything to have a loan, to have money. You want unsecured credit cards. You want unsecured debt. So unsecured debt is going to be to where you are given a line of credit or given money or an item without you having to back it with anything. And really, to get to the next point, why is it useful and necessary? Dawn, what would happen if someone came to buy a home and they had 0 credit score?
They would get denied.
Right. Instantly. And there's a purpose for that. When I was talking about secured versus unsecured loans, your credit score is basically a calculation of the risk you pose to the lender. So if you've never used credit, if you have no debt, if you've never financed anything or proven that you can use credit cards, the bank is going, well, how do I know that you're responsible with this credit, with this money? How do I know what you're going to do? I don't know your trends. So debt is useful because it shows potential lenders that you are responsible and make responsible decisions. I always say credit's a game, and I don't make the game. I think it's a horrible game. But if you don't have multiple open lines of credit, whether it be car notes or personal loans, credit cards, a bank is not going to look at you favorably. Now, it doesn't mean that you go out and you run up as much debt as you can and finance everything and get a new car every few months. There are definite ways to build up your credit and to prove your worthiness without going into tons of debt. I don't want to see any of you in here calling me in 6 months with your $95,000 in credit card debt. Please don't. But at the same time, that debt is important because it shows your track record. I don't know that you could buy many vehicles or at least get a decent deal or interest rate on a vehicle even without having credit. A lot of people, I'm not going to mention Mr. Ramsey much today, although I am going to take something from him here in a little bit. But a lot of people come to me and they say, hey, I want to buy a home in the next 2 or 3 months, but I don't have a credit score. I did Dave Ramsey years ago and I no longer have anything on my credit. I can't help you. It takes 6 months to establish a credit score, FICO score. So it is important if you plan to make purchases in the future that you are having some debt in order to show that you're responsible enough to pay down that debt. Very much. Okay. And then I said interest rates. So if we're going to talk about, the debt we actually have, because very few of us have zero debt, we need to talk about how to find out about our debt. What does our debt look like? Interest rates are very important. Right now, while the economy is not great, interest rates are rising. And a lot of people, I think that only has to do with houses and maybe vehicles. I don't know how many people have checked their credit cards lately, but your interest rates are going up on your credit cards too. So interest rates are going up everywhere. It is really important to know. I went and got a business loan last week, not even a huge loan. And my rate was higher than it would normally be just because of the economy right now. And that is just something that you have to be very aware of and be very conscious of. And to understand that when you're looking at credit cards, these store cards can have 30% interest rates. It's insane what they can charge you to use their system. Going into that, I guess we need to talk about revolving and installment debt. So, there is revolving credit. That is going to be your credit cards. It's open-ended. It can be a line of credit. And then there's installment, which is going to be like your auto, your personal loans, your mortgage. Those things, once you pay them off, they're gone. They're going to be completely gone. So there's ways to tackle each of those when it comes to your debt. Revolving, we'll start there. Revolving is going to be your credit cards. That's what everybody says, 2023, I'm going to pay off my credit cards this year. That's the big goal. And honestly, most likely your credit cards had the highest interest. They're also going to be the easiest to pay off, and paying them off is going to help things like your credit the most. How credit factors in with your credit card debt. 30% of your credit score is actually built on what your balance is versus your limits on your credit card. It's called utilization. And if you have $10,000 over all your credit cards and limits and you have them all maxed out, your score on your credit is going to drop. The bank is going to look at you and they're going to say, you got all this credit, but you maxed it out. Are you hungry for money? Do you need money? Is this an issue for you? Do you overspend? Do you get yourself in a bind? Are you desperate for money? So you really don't want to have your credit cards maxed out. And in fact, everyday living, just going about your life, you're not trying to make a big purchase anytime soon. You want to keep those credit cards under 29% utilization. So if you have a $10,000 limit, you want to keep it under $2,900 in order to have a good credit score. They don't want to see you spending 30% or more of your credit card. And in fact, when you're going in to purchase a home or an auto or to even go in for a big loan, you need to have your credit card balances between 2 and 9%. That tells the bank, hey, this person has a lot of money they could spend. They don't need to. On the other hand, when we're talking about no debt, if you have zero credit card usage showing on your credit report, you're losing 15 to 20 points. So they look at that as, we don't know what this person does. They got a credit card, they never used it. We don't know what their trends are. So revolving credit or revolving debt is your credit cards. We all know that this is the one that can tend to get out of hand. This is the one that is, I feel like this, when we started our business, we ran up a lot of our credit cards. Going into business, anyone, I think, you're putting your money into your business, you're taking months where you don't have a lot of income because you're switching over to being a business owner. We went into a lot of credit card debt. And then a year later, when you're trying to pay that off, you're like, man, I'm making $1,000 a month in credit card payments, and I don't even remember what I bought. I don't even remember that tank of gas I had to get, or that time I had to use it at the grocery store. And it's hard to pay it back. And now you've got all this interest on top of it. So I kind of want to go into tackling your credit card debt. The first thing I would do, and we talked a lot about spreadsheets, writing down, what your debts are, what your monthly payment is. And I put that in as, I'm sorry, my house is not blowing up. I promise. It's me.
Is that you? I was like, is my smoke alarm going off?
Mine goes off randomly lately. I don't know why. But yeah, it's, you're writing down your debt, writing down the payment, writing down your interest rate, and then writing down how much you owe. And that can be, for me, like the first time we really did that, when we started to say, hey, we're about to pay off all this credit card debt, I looked at that and went, we did this. And so I think just the action of writing it down can be heartbreaking, but enlightening at the same time. So you look at that, and then there's two different ways to approach it. Dave Ramsey talks about the snowball method. So, you take the snowball method and you take the smallest bill you have. So you've got 5 credit cards, and you've got one with a 100, a 300, a 500, $1,000, and $2,000 balance. And you pay off that first one, the smallest one first. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, you're going to get that first one paid off quickly. And that's going to allow you to take that money that you were making, that minimum payment or the payment that you normally made on that credit card, and start doubling up on the next slower credit card. The other reason for the snowball method is psychologically, it's good because you have these little wins. You pay off that first little card and you're like, I can do this. I just did one, on to the next one. If you're competitive like me, it's much better for like the win. I like the win. So I kind of, for my personal use, I'm a fan of the snowball method. I like paying down those little cards, getting those gone. And then I feel like I have that win, which pushes me to pay the next card, and so on and so on. But there is another kind of tactic you can take. And a lot of people actually don't know about this, but it's called the avalanche method. So the avalanche method, if you have a lot of debt, the avalanche method is actually going to save you more money over time. The problem with the avalanche method is you don't have those quick, fast wins. So with the avalanche method, you're going to write them all down, and then you're going to start paying off the one with the highest interest rate. Now, let's say the one with the highest interest rate is that one that you've maxed out at $5,000. You're going to be paying down that one for a long time before you get that first success. So psychologically, the avalanche method may not, come with your competitive nature or those little wins you need to have, but it is going to save you more money over time because you're paying down the debt that has the highest interest. I know when I wrote down my credit card debt, and a lot of our cards we had since before we had really established good credit. And I'm looking at these cards and the interest rates, I had no idea. What interest rate I was paying. And then I had some that I just kind of had on the back burner that have excellent interest rates. And those were the ones that I was not utilizing like I should. So like I said, it's kind of either way, snowball or avalanche, you're going to get your debt paid down. You're going to put it in your spreadsheet. You have a win either way. The avalanche saves you more money over time, especially if you have some really high debt, high interest cards. The snowball method gives you those wins. And like I said, for me, I need that psychological, like, we did this.
We all
won on to the
right.
end. So that one works better for me, but they both work as long as what you're doing, you pay off that one small card that the payment was $30 a month. Now you need to take that $30 and you need to apply it on the next one. That's not an extra $30 for you to go spend next month.
Yeah.
So it's that rollover that makes it work, that snowball effect that makes it work.
Which is why it's so important to do what we talked about in our first session, and that is have a plan. Like, what are your financial goals? And then it's easy to tie yourself back to that main goal, and instead of going out and spending that $30, apply it to the next card.
I'll tell you, Juwan and I recently finished paying off our credit card debt. Big win for us. And it has opened up. For me, a lot of it is, and this is coming from, again, I say, I know what the broke mindset is, and I'm trying to conquer it in my own life, but I know I still have it. I really hate spending money. I hate all of, I want to keep my money close to me. But for me, it's that knowledge that money is there and I don't need it. That credit is sitting on those cards and I'm okay. And I'm a frugal person. I don't like to go out and just blow money. I don't have spending issues. I buy expensive tea. That's about it. But I feel like it's that safety net that I have now. And I knew what paying down my credit cards would do for me financially, but I didn't know the relief that I would feel when it was done. And so, yeah, it's keeping your eye on those financial goals and then sitting back and really congratulating yourself. Really thinking about the effort that you're putting into changing your life, into changing your financial future. If something happened right now, if I could use my credit cards if I had to, I don't have to worry. Just really taking a minute to really think about little ways that your life will change once you get that debt down, and then the different moves you can make, which I think that needs to be a future podcast that we do, is really going into, let's have these credit cards make money for you. I have one credit card.
Definitely want to go into that. Yes.
Oh yeah, I have a credit card that I use and pay off every month, and I make about $100 a month on that credit card. I cash back every month, and it's so important once you get your credit right and get your debt paid down that you do that, because free money is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I have a sister or a niece, and her mom is my sister, and she is a couponer. And literally, this girl, she has a gift for getting free things. And I'm like, how do you do this?
You need to bring her on.
I should. You're absolutely right. I should have her on. I'm going to write that down. But a lot of that depends on your personality type. And I am I don't know if you're familiar with the DISC profile, but I'm a high D. I'm driven. I'm bottom line. I'm not about all the details. So I would just assume pay it, then figure out how to get all those discounts. And that does not serve me well. Like, that is not good. And so as I've gotten older, I'm realizing that, and I'm trying to not use that as a crutch, and instead say, well, I need to figure out how to make myself do that so that I can know what's going on, or how I can save money. I can get those miles. I can use that in my favor. So, a lot of it, there's so many different things that we have to take into account. And a lot of it, like you talked about a moment ago, about living in that, about money mindset. Like, now I know what that means too. Whereas 10 years ago, I didn't have a clue what that meant. But money mindset is huge, because if you live in scarcity and you live in survival mode, you're going to continue living like that. So one of the other podcasts that I want to do is on multiple streams of income, or AKA like side gigs to bring in extra money. I think that is so huge because I have that now and I've never had that before. And it's definitely, a gift to be able to rely on something else when one thing isn't working. So a lot of these people say, well, I can barely make it from paycheck to paycheck. And I hear this all the time because I have people, well, I'd love to qualify for that, but I won't. And well, what do we need to do to get you there? Let me put you on this playlist here. So this podcast is going to serve us well for a long time because it's going into one of my funnels. And so yeah, that money mindset is huge.
Right. And being a problem solver,
Yeah.
and it is all about,
Resourcefulness too, like to be
right.
able to figure it out. Oh, I'm going to sneeze.
And
Sorry.
to not get frustrated and just give up, and you said, multiple streams of income. That's huge. It's, bless you.
Sorry.
But and there are so many different income streams. We have a lot of basically passive income that we do. And it may be small bits. I mean, I got a notice yesterday, your $157 for this month is coming over. That's not going to make my mortgage. But when I've got 15 things that are sending me $157 a month, those are that adds up to quite a bit of money. And finding what's right for you. So I think that'll be a really good podcast.
Yeah,
it really goes into,
we'll talk about that, Amber. You and I will put that one together. That would be great for us because we're talking about credit and money, and I think that'll be a really good one. And, there's the passive income. I have that coming in two different forms because I'm with EXP. So I have revenue share and I have my stock coming in. And then, my real estate business. But then I have a lot of affiliates. Like just like you, I love send out cards. I love listing leads. These are tools that I use in my business every single day. And I teach and train others how to do it. So every little bit counts to pay off this debt.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of people are watching this podcast and like, man, I didn't go into credit card debt because I had a lot of extra money. So how do I put extra money? And, we talked about freeing up extra money in your budget when we did budgeting, but I've been there. I've been that person that said, when it comes to the 30th of the month, I'm already broke. So I don't have an extra $5 because then I'm going to be broke on the 29th instead of the 30th, and sometimes it's that extra stream of income that gets you to your goals. So you don't have to look at, let's go simple. You don't have to Uber Eats drive forever, but if it helps you for 6 months to get your debt paid down, that's a huge deal.
Love it.
That'd be great.
We will do that. We will get that one set up.
I'm actually writing that down too. I was trying to make a list of stuff we need to still go over. I did want to mention, and we kind of mentioned this before, when it comes to paying down any debt, you said to have a plan and to have goals. Again, with those small wins, I think that striving to say, I want to cut my credit card debt by $500 by May 1st. By summer, I want to have my credit card debt down to here, to have very specific goals so that you know where you're at in your journey. Because if you don't, it's so easy to lose sight.
Yeah, definitely. You feel buried.
You do. You feel buried. And again, you bought this stuff a long time ago and it's gone. You don't even remember what you put on there. And so sometimes you kind of, why am I paying this again? I don't even, there's no reward for this. I don't get anything when I make this payment. It's not giving me electricity. It's not putting food on my table. You're paying past debt. And that can be hard to do. It really can.
Yeah, and you know what? Back to the mindset again. I'm really big into the mindset part of all of this. I have 4 adult sons, and I'm constantly trying to in, instill like good um habits in them because I didn't get that. And I've had to learn that. And it's been a long road and lesson to learn. Even though I've been a successful real estate agent for 20 plus years, I still didn't always do the right thing with my money because I just didn't know. Or I just put it off, or whatever the reason. But the mindset part, I have to say, when you are worried about it, it takes away your power to fix it. So you really do need to find the place in your mind, in your brain, to get your plan going instead of sitting there and worrying about the debt. Well,
Uh-oh, did you freeze? She's gone. I'll just keep going. All right. So Dawn should be back in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and move on into installment debt. So, like I said before, this is going to be your mortgage. This is going to be your loans. This is going to be your car payment. The thing about having installment debt, yes, you definitely want to get to a point where you pay off your installment debt. You don't want to keep that obviously forever. But when it comes to credit, and again, going in to make a big purchase in the future, building up your credit score, a lot of that is based on you having these interest notes. Your credit history is 15% of your score. So you need to make sure that you are building history, and making monthly on time payments is the best way to do this. So a lot of times I'll tell people they're going in to buy a house, and I'll say, well, they say, I want to pay off my car first. So I've got this money. I owe 10,000 on my car, and I want to pay it off first. And that may be something that seems like the right idea. It gets their debt to income down, and there are a lot of more factors that go into this, but paying off that debt early, number one, will drop their credit score. And number two, you're not building that good positive history. So when you take out a loan or you have a car, yes, you can pay a little bit more on it. You can make an extra payment, make sure it goes towards your principal. Hey, you're back.
I'm back. I am so impressed that it just kept going.
I just went right into installment credit or
Right.
installment loans, and really, about paying those off. I was talking about how, if you're trying to again build credit or make a big purchase like a home, sometimes paying those things off early can hurt you, because it's those on time consistent payments that build your credit history, and your credit score will drop if you pay those off early. So
Yeah.
sometimes people go in, and before they talk to you or they talk to a lender or they talk to me, they go and pay off their vehicle, and they pay $10,000 because they wanted their debt to be gone before they go in and buy that house, and it hurts them.
Yeah, definitely. I advise anybody who is thinking about buying in the future, not sure where they're at, I send them to you to get their credit, for you to run their credit and help them. Sometimes they can use your service, but you know what? You've been so great to just help them go in the right direction. Like, it just depends what they need. So they need a strategy session.
Oh yeah, sometimes they don't need credit repair at all. Sometimes they just need help building, or to say, please don't do that. Don't do that. It's going to kill us. And I think, you don't know what you don't know. I know I've said
Right.
this a million times while we're talking, and before I got into this industry, I was that buyer. I was the person that was like, well, I'm ready to buy a house today. let's go. Let me call the realtor on the house that's on the sign on the house I want, and we're just going to make this happen. And
Yeah.
now that I know things, it is so important to have a team of people working for you. It's important to have a good realtor. It's important to have a good lender. And it's also important, if you have any type of debt or credit struggles, to have someone working on the financial side, because we all have our specialties. You're supposed to find them the perfect house and hook them up with everybody else. You're the big matchmaker. And then I need to work on their finances, and then that lender needs to work with them on finding the best possible rates, and loan for them. But a lot of people don't realize all the factors that go into it.
And they don't realize that we're here to help. Like so many people are like the realtor, they don't want a realtor. They want to do it on their own. But for instance, I have 20 plus years of experience. I know how important it is to have a good team, a good title company, a good lender, a credit repair person, a good inspector. Like, that is why all of my transactions are seamless, like, because we have it all going on. And that's just so important to have
You're
that
the
team.
voice for that person. And I had no idea everything that went into the home buying process and I'm sure I still don't, until I got into this industry. And you need a voice.
Yeah,
You really
I
do.
know. I try to explain in the beginning for new buyers, especially, is that, like, if you could envision like a witch's pot, like a big witch's pot at Halloween, right? And witches are in there and they're stirring it. Well, if you could think of your loan or your real estate transaction like that, but we're not the only ones stirring. You've got your lender stirring the pot. You've got your title company stirring the pot. You've got your inspector, your roof company, your appraiser. Like, all these people have their hand in and they're stirring this pot. It takes one of them to stop stirring and the whole pot is messed up. The recipe is gone. It's a disaster. Can also be fixed, but that's why we have preferred lenders. We have a preferred title company, because we know, love, and trust them. So you are definitely my trusted credit repair and just advisor. I know that you do credit repair, but you're doing some other things now too. And you're just the person I go to whenever I need any of that advice. So
Yeah, and I would never say I'm the guru, but I'm always willing to dig until I have, I know enough to know when I search out the correct information.
yeah,
So I think that's a big deal. I think that doing this podcast is really going to bring a lot of just the basics to
yeah,
people, and things that, they should have been taught when they were young. And it can't all be put on parents. Schools need to
no,
do a little more real life teaching, because this is coming from a former teacher. But I think that, this podcast will maybe even bring up more questions. And for anybody listening, if you have questions or topics that you want to know more about, like I just said, Dawn and we don't know everything, but we are definitely able to investigate and sort through and find good information on any topic and bring you what we do know.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Oh, one more?
I want to go into one more thing real fast. The big one, the student loans. Student loan debt is what kills, I'm sure, many homeowners' dreams, or to-be homeowners' dreams. Student loans are the bane of my existence. I'll be the first to admit I have 125,000 ish left in student loans.
Oh my gosh.
Too much grad school, too many undergrad schools. It's crazy, but I don't have, there are people with a lot more than I do. And the interest rates in the past have been so high that I'll tell you this, I was paying $1,500 a month and my balance was going up. To the point that I quit. I'm not sending you a mortgage payment a month so that my balance can continue to go up. With the forgiveness, and I know a lot of people have applied, a lot of people haven't applied. If it comes back open, apply 100%. Be the first person on there. I don't care if you think you won't qualify. I don't care if it doesn't barely touch to get 20,000 taken off, or if you think that the government's not going to push it through, or whatever it is. When I applied, it literally took me less than a minute to apply for the forgiveness. Right now it's on hold. So basically they've given the government until June to figure this out. In June, they got to come up with something. I figure it's going to take until then. When June hits, they're going to make a decision one way or the other. I mean, it's going to happen. They're either going to do the forgiveness, they're going to modify the forgiveness, or they're not going to do it. Whatever happens there, come August, we're all going back into repayment. Everybody's going back into repayment. Here are the things that are going to change. Number one, you may have much less debt. Number two, if you are making payments on your student loans starting in August when it starts back up, there will be no interest. That is incredible. That makes all the difference in the world. I have no problem paying my student loan when I know I'm paying my student loan. Before, I was not paying my student loan. I was paying interest. That is going to be a huge factor. And I do want to say, you said we're going into other things now. One of the things that we're going to be doing by June, Joanne and I, the credit couple, are going to be certified to help people not only consolidate, but to get into repayment plans. Because I want everyone in my social network, every one of my clients, everyone who has not even signed up with me yet, to be on a payment plan before payments restart in August. Because if they don't, I look at credit every day. I would say 9 out of 10 reports have 6+ student loans running down their credit report. Every one of those are going to have their own payment. They're all going to come due in August. And that is going to, I mean, that's when school's starting. We're buying back to school clothes. You know, everybody's broke in August. You took that last minute trip, and now we're going to throw student loans on it. So I want every one of my clients, everyone that I can get my hands on, to, if not have their loans completely consolidated, to at least have a good payment plan in there. I know that we'll be able to set a lot of people up on a 0 payment plan, which means you're paying 0. We'll be able to set people up on a very manageable payment plan. I think when I looked at mine, my payment was going to go from being $1,500 plus a month to being a couple hundred a month. That's a huge difference. And I'm going to pay that couple hundred till the day I die. But I will be able to feed my family and go on about my life and pay back that debt over time. So that's something to very much look forward to. They can come visit the website. They can get to me through you if they want us to look at that once the forgiveness goes through. I do not suggest that anyone go and get their loans consolidated or a payment plan set until we know what's happening with the forgiveness. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to be so hard to readjust it later.
Perfect. And we should update them as we do these every month until you know. So let's take a note too, to put that in, just a little note toward the end of our next session.
And note to everybody with student loans, you're most likely going to start owing something, maybe little, but something in August. So already start looking at your plan and putting that in your budget.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Amber. I absolutely love these calls. They just get me motivated to go take care of my own stuff and just work harder for my plan. I already have a plan, so I'm excited to see where we end up at the end of the year. So thank you so much, and we will see you back next month.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, everybody.